Hello and welcome back to Lesson 3, Chapter 2, The Dangerous Desert. Make sure you use the lesson slides to help you complete this assignment or lesson to a high standard. Okay, so let's get started. Just like you to complete the do now task that's on your assignment sheet, I'd like you to pause this video and complete that do now task now. Okay, let's go over the answers. Climax is a Greek term meaning, everyone? Ladder. It's the particular point in a narrative at which the conflict or tension hits the highest point. Falling action, the part of a plot in a work of literature that follows the climax and diminishes the tension before the denouement or the resolution. Answers on. Next one. Denouement is the resolution of the issue of a complicated plot in fiction. Denouement is usually driven by the climax. Pause your video and put the correct answers in now. Let's move on now to our knowledge retrieval. I'd like you to write a definition of dystopia, utopia, and genre. Don't forget you might be able to find the answers on previous lesson slides. I'd like you to pause the video and write the definitions in now. Okay, moving on to our targeted vocabulary. First of all, figurative language. It's an adjective, figurative, and it comes from the old French figuratif, meaning metaphorical. Let's all highlight the key terms from the etymology. To form a shape, a form or a figure, to form or build, of speech language, allegorical, metaphoric, or figuratively. Okay, just pause the video and read through the etymology of figurative now. Okay, I would now like you to write a modern definition of figurative language. I'd like you to come up with a list of language devices that might be considered figurative language. Feel free to use the internet to help you complete this task. For example, metaphor is clearly going to be one of them. I'd like you to find out some more. Continuing with our task 1 key vocabulary, there's a few things I would like you to really make sure you do in your creative writing task today. I'd like you to make sure you have a panoramic view, a wide view that surrounds the observer, which could well be your character that's in the desert. A sweeping view, so an overall view, like a helicopter view. You're going to describe the scene. You're going to describe this dangerous desert. But let's not forget the time or the setting, because the desert at nighttime might be very different to the desert in the daytime. Once you've done that, you'll then have a focus shift. You can focus your lens or your camera or your mind on the characters, and you're going to describe them in detail. It might be you and your friends moving through the desert. And who knows, you might then zoom in to either some provisions that you have, or you might zoom into a danger. I'd like you to pause this video now and just think to yourself, what is going to happen in this dangerous desert? Pause the video and think independently now. Okay, now we're now moving on to task 2. I think it's really important that we do read existing extracts from existing novels and have a think about why they're so effective and what makes them so good. So we're going to read the story extracts and story openings, and you're going to highlight maybe some sentence starters that you could even use in your own story. So let's do the first one together. In 1984 is by George Orwell, and this extract is from the beginning of a novel where we are first introduced to the protagonist, Winston. It is set in a dystopian Britain known as Airstrip 1. It was a cold, bright, cold day in April. And the clocks were striking 13. Winston Smith, his chin nuzzled into his breast in an effort to escape the vile wind. Slipped quickly through the glass doors of Victory Mansion, so not quickly enough to prevent a swirl of gritty dust from entering along with him. So this opening paragraph, we have a panoramic view of the weather. It's bright and cold, so we have adjectives there. And we also have the time of year, April. Clocks are striking 13. Creates a sense of unease, considering there's only usually 12 hours. Why would they live somewhere where there's 13 hours? His chin is nuzzled. So we now have a zoom in or focus shift from the weather into Winston's chin nuzzling. And his chin is the noun. So we have our verb there. In an effort to escape the vile wind. The word vile being an adjective. If you want to, just highlight the words that you think are particularly effective. So if you don't know if they're verbs or adjectives, just highlight the words that you feel create a dystopian or a sense of foreboding. Quickly, a swirl of gritty dust. Well, that might be something you could use yourself when you enter the desert. Swirl being a verb, state or an action. Gritty is describing the dust, so it's a describing word, adjective, and dust is your noun. So think about the movement when you're in the desert and use some of these ideas to help you. Okay. Always thinking about those sensory details in your description. Okay, what I'd like you to do is to pause the video and complete the highlight and annotation extract now. If we can highlight words that you think are particularly effective, highlight, never zooming in to the character, thinking about the description of the character, and this should help you with your own writing. So pause the video and complete task 2 now. Okay, just going to look quickly at task 3. Now I do have for task 3, there are some images of deserts that you may want to use to help you with your own planning and ideas. Really zooming into the ground, widening out to the sky, zooming into your character, shifting focus to a danger. How are you going to cross this dangerous desert? You're out the dome. What's next? I'd like you now to pause the video and you're going to watch this clip from The Mummy and note down any ideas that you might have after watching this clip. For example, there is a sandstorm. What else might you want to include? You can add your own ideas. You can add extra threats. Maybe there's been some creatures that have able to adapt. They've been able to adapt to life outside the dome and makes them even more dangerous. Okay. Once you've completed that task, I'd like you to meet me at the next video where we start planning and writing chapter 2, Crossing the Dangerous Desert. Speak to you soon. Bye.